Toastmasters. Here is a speech of honest endeavour. It's got a moral at the end and a maths lesson in the middle. First, I need to give you some background. My wife, some of you will know, is a keen DIYer. She's also a bit of a property developer on the side. And at the moment she's working on a house just a couple of miles from where we live. Occasionally, foolishly, I offer to help. Little light tasks, that's all I'm interested in. She said, I've got a really easy light task for you this time. A very nice, distinct task. You see that dreadful little metal box by the side of the front door? A keeper key safe thing. It's the old lady who used to live in the house, so they could get in if she had a fall or something like that. We're done with it, we don't need it anymore, we change the locks. Please, can you remove it for me? This is the very lock. Fine, I said, that's right up my street. I can so help you with that. I'll get my hammer. Not so fast, she said. I want brains involved in this, not brawn. If you, by the time you smash that off with a hammer, there'll be nothing left of the door surround. We'll have to take the door off and replace the surround. What I want is it removed by stealth. I want it removed by skill. It'll have big screws through the back. I don't want you smashing it off. She said, have a look at YouTube. There's a video on there. American guy, smart fella, knows how to crack these things. Well, even more intrigued, even more fun than a hammer, a little problem to solve. So I watched the YouTube video, and sure enough, there's the fellow on there, and it's exactly the same box. 10 number digits down the side, a little clear button, and a big button at the bottom, at the top, which, when you crack the code, opens it up. I was intrigued. His method of solving, opening it was really very easy. You hold this button down at the top, that locks all of the buttons in place. You then slowly, slowly, slowly reduce it, still pressing the buttons. Slowly, slowly reduce it. Eventually, 4 of the buttons will click down. Those 4 will be the ones that open the lock. You'll then be able to push it down and it will open. Fantastic, I thought. I've got to go and have a go at this. I was in the car straight round to this house to have a go. 45 minutes later, having stood like a lemon outside of this house, thrashing the numbers into this little box, trying to work out how to solve it, I gave up. It was a pointless 45 minutes in more ways than one, because my fingers had lost their points by the end of having to try and work it out. I wanted to find this American fellow and give him a piece of my mind. Dejected, I gave up. I went into the house. Now, as some of you know, I'm a bit of a numbers person. I was a bit intrigued at these numbers down the side, 0 to 10. I started thinking, well, if I have lots of opportunities to visit this house, and every time I go in, I try 4 digits, how many times do I need before I get the right answer? And you've guessed it, there's a bit of a maths lesson coming up here now, isn't there? Because 10 digits, I've got to use 4. Well, quite clearly, if I can press any of them in any order, I've got a choice of 10, then 10, then 10, then 10. That's 10,000. That's a lot of presses. But I had learned something while I was trying the YouTube solution, and that was that if you press the button down once, you've got a nice solid click. I don't know if you can hear that, a nice solid click. If you press it again, you've got nothing. So I was reasonably sure that you only got to press each button once. Now that is really quite helpful, because it means I've got a choice of 10 at the first button, then only 9, then 8, then 7. Anyone good at numbers? 10 times 9 times 8 times 7. Dan, you're the only man who works in systems. Thank you, Dan. Like 5,040. I knew you were nearly there. That's easy. That's 56, and that's 9,000. 5,040. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so if I can thrash through, say, one combination every 10 seconds, so 6 a minute, that sounds reasonable. How long to get through 5,040? 14 hours. I've already stood there like a lemon for 45 minutes. I don't fancy going through 5,040. Then I thought, there's something else that I'm missing. There's something else that I'm missing, and I started. And I'm going to pass these around because you won't see it clear enough. This house is being renovated, so it's full of junk. I couldn't find a piece of paper. So I tore off the top of a couple of tap boxes that were waiting to be fitted. And I started writing out the numbers. Now, if you want to see the definition of sad, just have a look at these. This one actually, I got so excited, I ripped it. I started to work out the combinations. And as you can see, you start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, and so on. And I became a bit fascinated by this. And something else occurred to me, and that is that actually, because it's mechanical, the order of the buttons probably doesn't matter. It doesn't know what order you're putting them in. It knows when you've got the 4 right ones down, it will release it, but it doesn't know what order. Now that is hugely important, because it allows me to come back to my mathematic and my maths lesson. Now, if you can, if the order doesn't matter, you can divide through by the number of ways that you can arrange 4 digits. 4, 2, 1, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2. All of those are effectively the same, so you can divide through by those. And you can do that just by dividing by 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Easy one, man. 24. 24, thank you. I never even saw your lips move. I have no. So your last chance then, 5,040 divided by 2 is 24. Thank you, 210. 210 is the right answer.
Correct.
Well done. 210. Now, anyone think that 210 is not actually that many combinations, is it? And I've written them all out there. 210, not too bad. 6 a minute, I'm going to get through the board in something like 35 minutes, no problem. I could go and do that. I've already stood there for 45 minutes with doing some prankster Americans solution drawing. So I was armed with my piece of paper, and I got out there and I stood there again. It took a bit longer than 35 minutes. It took another 45 minutes, wearing my fingertips out. You've guessed it, still didn't have the answer. I was cheesed off. What had I done? I went home. It was winding me up. I was wound up. I wanted to get the answer to this. You'll never guess what I did. I wrote it out again. There's all the solutions. It's quite beautiful. You can understand why people think that mathematics is beautiful. It's quite pretty, the patterns. 210, and I realised what I'd done. On those pieces of paper, if you've still got them, you will see that there's some corrections. I messed up. I missed a couple of rows out. I was mesmerised by the numbers. So I thought, right, next opportunity, I'm going back there again. I've got the full list. I'm going to go through them again, and I'm going to start with the ones that I missed out. It's almost certain to be one of those, but 45 minutes, I've done it twice. I'll do it again. Fantastic. Off I went. The following Saturday, I was there. As it happened, my wife was in the place at the time, and I was rattling away on the front door. She thought, what was that? She came down to see who it was. By the time she'd opened the door, I'd opened the door. Looking pleased myself, brandishing the opened lock and the piece of paper. Job done, I said. Very good, very impressed. Now, my wife's not daft. Apart from marrying me, she's done very few daft things. And as we're walking through, she said, so you wrote all the answers out. What was the answer in the end? And I had to admit that the answer was 25680. And she said, that's very interesting, because you've written down all the answers for 4, and the solution was a 5-digit code. And if I was a less honest Toastmaster, my story would end here, but I had to then admit the game was up. She said, so how did you get the 5-digit code? I said, well, you know the old lady used to live here, you know her nephew lives down on the green. I parked down there on the way up here today, and there he was outside of his house. And we got chatting, and he asked how you get on with the house, and I said, we're fine, except that wretched little box on there. I said, look at the effort I've gone to try and work out the code. You wouldn't happen to have it written down anywhere, would you? And he said, yeah, of course I have, that's what it was for. It was so I could get him to see the old lady if she fell down. So that's how I got the code. My wife was a bit less impressed, so we heard the truth than she was before. I said I'd offer you a moral. The moral is, it doesn't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter how much honest endeavour you put into things, it doesn't matter how mathematically minded you are, If you know someone who knows the answer, for heaven's sake, just ask them.